All right. We got some noise or not? All right, got 2 bars on there. It's really pumping up the jam. I noticed last night, after I listened to myself again, I dropped some words in there. You just can't hear some of them. So it's a work in progress. It's getting better. I looked forward to the stream tonight. As long as my day was today, I had to have something good to look forward to. So this has been a positive, I guess. So that's good. I was running late getting home from work tonight because uh, the person that gives me a ride home had a flat tire. I posted a video, a little short on about that. So much for brand new tires. That didn't work out so much. But sorry, I needed text real quick. I never get any text. Of course, somebody's gonna text as soon as I'm doing this. But so I didn't have much time to do any kind of research. I just had to jump into it. I just got home, ate a little bit of cereal or cereal. I don't know how other people say it. I say it kind of funny. I was told so. But I'm gonna kind of cherry pick off from a lot of the stuff that I heard off Redacted tonight. I was trying to bring up, see if I could get their transcript, so I don't have to, play their videos. I wouldn't want to get a strike on YouTube for copyright, which I'm sure they're probably pretty much all right with you using some of their stuff, anyways. And speaking of which, I mean, there was an amazing interview that I seen. Um, Redacted put out with a guy from, well, he was a former FBI agent. Some of his cases were actually in like the first season of the X Files, so that was pretty cool. Pretty cool to know that. Of course, my phone's locking up because it's still trying to upload that video from forever ago. Great, sweet. That's what I needed. Whatever. Everything's gonna be a battle today. I mean, work was tough today. I mean, I walked 11 miles just walking to robot to work on today, and yeah, it wasn't much fun. And then 2 minutes to go to get out, and shit hits the fan. Somebody put the wrong size nuts in the wrong machine. That was quite amazing. Good job there at the end. Thanks for making my night even longer. But we got through it. The royal we. So I'm trying to bring up some of the stuff so we can talk about it. I mean, so in the news today was plenty of stuff, about Trump. I mean, I usually check out like a news feed that I get that, I say, okay, Google, play my news feed. It's gonna do it right now.
Latest news. Reuters TV, US at 11:31 p.m. today. With round-the-clock updates from Reuters.
Yeah, we're not gonna listen to that though. Like I said, I don't know how all the copyright BS and all that stuff works, but so I listened to that this morning. The biggest thing that they want to talk about on there is Trump gonna be arrested, Trump gonna be, brought in from the grand jury. With all the stuff going on, that's what we're really focusing on. And I mean, you can say what you want about him. I mean, I don't understand how it's the top of the news with all the real things that are going on. Right now we have the president of China talking to the president of Russia. Apparently, they were working on a peace deal, and the first thing that the United States and NATO do when they hear about the chance that there could be peace, they say that we're going to give Ukraine more arms, more weapons, and surround all the bordering countries to Russia with troops. Like 300,000 troops I had heard. So I mean, it's just it's amazing that there's no peace in this country. I mean, it's all about the war. It's all about fighting. But I mean, that's what they're going to do because they're trying to hold on to the better end with their um trying to hold on to the better end with the power that they think that they have, but we know that they don't, and it's a shame. It's a shame. So, um, so I did bring up something from redacted. Um, so tonight they had talked about a report that the United States State or the U.S. State Department released. It's an updated report concerning Ukraine, the human rights there, and the report that the State Department had. Apparently, every year they release it, and I want to look up an older one because apparently this year everything that they had in there for an excuse of why Ukraine tortured people, why Ukraine took away religious rights to people, why Ukraine has corruption is always because Russia did it, Russia did it, Russia did it. Russia, Russia, Russia. But the fact is, it's been going on for years before this, and they couldn't use Russia for the excuse. It's a long, um, known fact in circles that I travel in, and I forget this that this is really for people. I'm trying to make a show really for people that are just waking up to the American nightmare. Um, so I try to bring people along slowly because not everybody has been has had the time to go into detail, into details with some of the narratives that I've followed for years. I mean, I really after 9/11, I really got more into it. I've always been suspicious of our government all along for valid reasons, but I'm trying to make something for people that might not know it. I had somebody that I know reach out to me and saying that it's nice to hear somebody else's perspective. It's somebody that I went to school with, and I don't know if it got recorded, but I went to a religious school, a private religious school, it was Baptist, and eh, we haven't really stayed in close contact, so I don't know what kind of stuff she'd heard about. But the long story short, I'm getting to is people come from different backgrounds. A lot of people get their news from mainstream sources, so I'm trying to put out a different narrative, reach people that maybe some of these other platforms that I watch, um, that you can watch this and get caught up. So, and I don't have no problem repeating certain things over, breaking things down for people. Um, and that's what I like to do. I like to talk about this stuff. I mean, I don't like the fact that I have to talk about this stuff here. I mean, there's so many more things. I mean, I was watching some videos this morning. I've been having a hard time sleep. I'm kind of hitting like a manic stage at the moment. I think spring has sprung and has kept me up. But uh, about words being magic and the universe is about a guy. I can't remember his name, but he was big into like psilocybin and stuff like that. I know some of you people might know it. I'd like to bring it up. Oh, so I was talking earlier about the interview that excuse me that redacted it had that I watched yesterday. You should really check it out. I'd like to take a deeper dive into some of the stuff that he had to say. I want to get his book and read that, and I'd like to do a book report for you guys about it. But yeah. So I'm not really finding the transcripts of anymore. Um, there we go. So basically, they're saying about these stories that come out about Ukraine, and their human rights abuses. It's taken over a lot of them. All right, so so Ukraine has taken over a lot of the media. They've arrested priests. Like I said, they've restricted religious freedom. The Russian Orthodox Church is big there. There's a lot of old temples or churches or whatever you want to call them. I'm not exactly sure how monasteries there that they've restricted a lot too. So the United States State Department, like I had said, released a report. an updated report about it. So, ultimately, we're supposed to be over in Ukraine helping them fight for democracy against the evils of Russia, how they invaded them. And, a lot of people don't know that in 2014, there was a coup to oust the voted on government, the voted on president that was in power in that country, who was uh, probably more sympathetic towards Russia. And this coup was backed by the United States. They might not outright say it. There's definitely recordings of Victoria Nuland talking about who they're going to put into power. And by the way, she's like assistant secretary of state or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm bad with keeping track of names. Let's ask chat. Let's ask the chat bot. Ask me anything. Victoria Nuland. Vic or Nuland. I had to sign in. Looks like we've been away for a while. Okay. Victoria Nuland is an American diplomat who served as assi- Assistant Secretary of State. Why did it take that down? Who served as Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs from 2013 to 2017. She was the lead U.S. point person for the Revolution of Dignity, establishing loan guarantees to Ukraine, including a $1 billion loan guarantee in 2014, which is right around the same time frame that they helped overthrow the government there, and the provisions of non-lethal assistance to the Ukrainian military and border guard. She was also the mastermind behind the February 22nd, 2014 regime change in Ukraine, plotting the overthrow of the democratically elected government of President Viktor Yanukovych, while convincing the U.S. mainstream media that the coup wasn't really a coup but a revolution. So there you go. That's straight from the Bing AI chatbot. We know that's not gonna lie to us. I mean, just believe everything that you hear from it. But, on this aspect, it's pretty accurate, I would have to say. I mean, for one, it backs up what I was saying. So, this report, like I said, they release it every year, and it just goes into detail how they basically blame Russia for everything that's, going on. I'm not really finding much in there. Alright. So, invasion, yes, they did bad things, but why did they do them? Because of Russia, in which we ask why they were doing bad things in 2019, so they're saying that in 2019, 2018, 2017, they were doing the same bad things. I mean, we've come out and said that it was one of the most corrupt nations on the earth, let alone one of the most corrupt ones in Europe. Um, Bill Gates has even said that's one of the worst places to do business. But at the moment, um, Microsoft controls all the servers for the Ukrainian government. So, I mean, he's always going to have his hand on, a little bit of everything, anytime you can make some money. Soft and Ukraine. So this is what Microsoft has been up to. Well, that's a long thing. Microsoft has provided unprecedented technology assistance to the government and people of Ukraine since the war began in February 22. Microsoft and other tech companies have dispersed digital infrastructure into the public cloud. Dispersed it into the public cloud. I'm just checking my levels here. All right, so they have dispersed digital infrastructure into the public cloud to support critical Ukrainian services through data centers across Europe. Microsoft has committed more than 400 million to support Ukraine since the war began in February 22. In addition to enabling technology services to run in the Microsoft cloud, the company continues to support the country with critical cybersecurity protection. Microsoft has also dedicated a new form of offensive and destructive software targeting Ukrainian institutions in the hours leading up to Russia's invasion. Microsoft has observed a barrage of cyber attacks zeroing in on Ukraine's agricultural, commercial, finance, and energy sectors. Microsoft has seen the Russian military launch multiple waves of destructive cyber attacks against 48 distinct Ukrainian agencies and enterprises. These have sought to penetrate network domains by initially compromising hundreds of computers and then spreading malware designed to destroy the software and data on thousands of others. Microsoft has released a report detailing the relentless and destructive Russian cyber attacks observed in a hybrid war against Ukraine. Not that we don't do any of the same stuff. I mean, it just said up there before that they had offensive and destructive software also targeting Ukrainian institutions. Oh, it says detected a new form or whatever. Well, anyways. So, starting out just before the invasion, at least 6 separate Russian-aligned nation-state actors launching more than 237 operations against Ukraine have been noted, including destructive attacks that are ongoing. So, I'm asking it about the State Department report on Ukraine 2019. Let's see what it has to say. And by the way, I'd have to say I'm using Microsoft to look this stuff up. So, you know, all full disclosure. All right. The U.S. State Department releases an updated report on human rights in Ukraine every year. The 2022 annual human rights report published by the U.S. blames Russia and glosses over Kyiv's behavior. I like that. It's a little critical on, I got it. I'm trying to think of how I got it set. Like, there's different settings you can put this on. Um, I don't know. I don't know what it is right now, but it's supposed to. It's the middle one, and it's supposed to be more accurate. So, it glosses over Kyiv's behavior. The report states that the Russian government and its proxies in Ukraine continue to commit human rights abuses, including extrajudicial killings, torture, arbitrary detention, and the Ukrainian government's response to these abuses was inadequate. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions. Yeah, let's ask it how many bio labs are in Ukraine that are from the United States. How many U.S. bio labs are in Ukraine? They denied at first and then came out and told us the truth. I mean that's the thing I don't understand how more people don't get upset is they blatantly lie to you about things, and then the truth comes out, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, we had to do that. It was for your safety. So yeah, we did this. We did that." What the heck? Um, According to a fact check by PolitiFact, the United States government did not admit that there are 46 U.S. funded biolabs in Ukraine. The document referenced by far right and socialist websites repeats known information. So you got far right and socialist. So isn't that far left? So you got the far right and the far left. So let's just be in the middle of it then. I hate terms like that. It's which I mean, I guess there are some things that are technically probably like that, but most of us, not to be gray about everything, but are down the middle. I mean, it's about having balance. And you're gonna hear me say that a lot. I try to strive to have that in my own life, balance. It's very hard to do, but I try. All right, so the document referenced by far right, far left repeats known information about 46 Ukrainian-owned and operated laboratories, health facilities, and diagnostic sites that have received support from the U.S. However, according to Op India, the U.S. has 336 labs in 30 countries under its control, including 26 in Ukraine alone. And there's at least a couple level 3s, if not a level 4 in there in Ukraine. And we all know where some of these other countries are at, that the U.S. had biolabs that were funded, and nothing ever bad happened because of that. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Can't get it in there. How did I do it before? I don't know. Before, I swear I had this where my curtain was blocking off all the shit in my room. All right, so that was just a brief going over of the State Department human rights report of Ukraine. They didn't want to give me an older one, so let's see where to go. Searching for State Report on 2019. BigNewsNetwork.com. I don't know what that is. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there's a whole right there. What is that? Archive content. You are viewing archive content released online from January 20th, 2017 to January 20th, 2021. It's not updated. Links may not function. County reports on human rights practices Ukraine 2019. Executive summary. Ukraine is a republic with a semi-presidential political system composed of 3 branches of government: a unicameral legislature, an executive led by a directly elected president who is head of state and commander-in-chief, and a prime minister who is chosen through a legislative majority and as head of government leads the cabinet of ministers and a judiciary. On April 21st, Volodymyr Zelensky was elected president in an election considered free and fair by international and domestic observers. On July 21st, the country held early parliamentary elections that observers also considered free and fair. But ones that they don't consider free and fair are when different territories of Ukraine voted to um, join Russia and leave Ukraine because they've been getting bombed since 2014, along with Crimea, which wanted to secede to the Russian Federation. But when it's not what we want as the outcome of a vote, it's not free and fair. Same as Venezuela. If you know anything about that, we essentially tried to put a puppet government in over the elected president that was there, and that didn't even work out, and they just kind of forgot about it. I mean, they left the guy high and dry, and it's kind of a farce. And another thing that most people don't know about Venezuela is it's the largest oil reserve in the world that are there. We used to get a lot of oil from there, and then when we put sanctions on them, which is just a way to exacerbate human suffering so that they rise up against their government, which is technically illegal under United Nations charters. Um, we had to get oil from Russia, which we did because they have the same type of sweet crude that our refineries are used to processing. So now we don't get fuel from China or from Russia anymore. We probably get it from India, which gets it from Russia, and then sells it to us for a higher rate, which makes a whole lot of sense. Nicolas Maduro was the president of Venezuela, by the way. I didn't have to look that up. I didn't know that. I can't think of the guy that we tried to put in power for, you know, the interim president or Venezuela that we called him. I'm just making sure I was right. I don't like being wrong. I don't want to give you wrong information. That is high on my list of things. Is Venezuelan politician who has been president of Venezuela since 2000. He has divided opinion. All right, so Nicolas Maduro is a Venezuelan politician who has been the president of Venezuela since 2013. He has divided opinion almost as much as his predecessor Hugo Chavez. First half of his presidency saw the opposition gain control of the National Assembly, while the second half saw Maduro consolidate power and create a new legislative body, the National Constituent. I can't say the word tonight. Constituent Assembly. There we go. Which has been described as a rubber stamp for his policies. Maduro has been accused of authoritarianism, human rights abuses, and corruption, but they leave out all the stuff that the United States government did over there. Not to mention a coup that they tried to false flag and start over there also, which was in 2019. So, all right, back to the 2019 report. Skip some of this. All right, the Ministry of Internal Affairs reports to the Cabinet of Ministers, the SBU, which is a civilian intelligence community group, reports directly to the president. The Ministry of Defense protects the country, blah, blah, blah. Significant human rights issues include unlawful or arbitrary killings, torture, and other abuse of detainees by law enforcement personnel, harsh and life threatening conditions in prisons and detention centers, arbitrary arrest and detention, substantial problems with the independence of the judiciary, which sounds like getting bribes, restrictions on freedom of expression, the press, the internet, including violence against journalists, censorship, and blocking of websites, refoulement, widespread government corruption, and crimes involving violence or threats of violence targeting persons with disabilities, ethnic minorities, and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, LGBTI persons. The government generally failed to take adequate steps to prosecute or punish most officials who committed abuses, resulting in a climate of impunity. Human rights groups and the United States noted significant deficiencies in investigations into alleged human rights abuses committed by government security forces. In the Russia induced and fueled conflict in the Donbass region, Russia led forces reportedly engaged in killings of civilians. So, this is bringing up, all right, let's start back over. In the Russia-induced and fueled conflict in the Donbass region, so they're blaming Russia in 2019 in the Donbass region. That's where most of the fighting is. I mean, the Rush none of the bombings really, or and definitely none of the war is taking place in Kiev. It's all been in the eastern region of Ukraine, which was the original start of all this stuff. So Russia-led forces reportedly engaged in killings of civilians, forced disappearances and abductions, torture, unlawful detentions, and committed gender-based violence. Other egregious human rights issues in the area controlled by Russia-led forces include harsh and life-threatening prison and detention centers, political prisoners, the absence of judicial independence, severe restrictions on freedom of expression, the press, and the internet, restrictions on the right of peaceful assembly, freedom of association, and religious freedom, restrictions on freedom of movement across the line of contact in eastern Ukraine, and unduly restricted humanitarian aid. So, when you hear me talk about how I feel that there's some justification for what Russia did, I'm not pro Putin. I'm not a huge fan of Russia or anything like that. I don't like any governments, to be honest with you. So, but I'm trying to bring you a side of this so you understand why things are happening the way they are, what our government does to antagonize situations, and ultimately, our government usually tries to push people around, and these are the things that happen when people push back. 'Cause we are losing our power and our grip and dominance of the world that we've had for so long. Something that I did want to talk about is BRICS nations. You might not be familiar with that. So, you might be familiar with like the G20 summit and countries like that. Um, you know, a lot of countries that the United States does business with, and it helps support our dollar. Okay, but you have the BRICS, which is an acronym for five leading emerging economies. Brazil, which is actually has close ties with us. Russia, obviously not. India, so-so. China, I mean, we don't like China. They always say, we always have such a hard on against them, but they have everything that we consume all comes from there. So go figure that one out, how that's going to work out in the long run when you want to start a war with them. Most of the time, I think it's just saber rattling, and it's not really going to come to much. But so you got Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries are considered the five foremost emerging economies in the world. The BRICS countries are home to 42% of the world's population and account for 30% of the world's GDP. But there's a lot more other countries now that would like to join them, particularly a lot of African and South American countries that have been um, taken advantage of by the United States government, especially in South America. I mean, a lot of people want to talk about the immigrant problem that we have in this country without ever putting in the context of why people want to come here. I mean, obviously, a lot of people want to come here for the fact that they want a better life for themselves. But there's also a huge fact that we've devastated so many other countries because they wouldn't go along with what we want and give us what we want. They're rich in natural resources, and we want to go down there and just take everything and don't give them much in return. And that all leads into, once you get into like the cabal of the people that run the world, um, they don't want to have these third world nations using up all the stuff that they want to save for us and for themselves. If their way of life got better, then they would be consuming more of the products and resources that they want to save for themselves. And we get to go along for a lot of the ride because of where we live at. What are the benefits of bricks? Let's find out. The benefits of BRICS include the following. BRICS countries are home to 40%. Already said that. Well, there's a whole lot of benefits here that it's just rattling off. The BRICS countries have a combined GDP of 16.6 trillion. The BRICS countries have a combined foreign exchange reserves of 4.4 trillion, in which a lot of the Russian ruble is based on gold. And now it's not completely based on gold, but there's a lot of gold reserves in Russia and China, along with a lot of these other countries that are building up their gold reserves. Plus, they can mine for gold a lot more than we can, also, so they can still get it out of the ground. The BRICS countries, all right, said that. The BRICS countries have a combined share of 16% of the world trade. The BRICS countries have a combined share of 23% of the world's land area. I would think that would have been bigger. The BRICS countries have a combined share of 27% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions. So that's quite low. The BRICS countries have a combined share of 40% of the world's gold. So right there, gold and hard currency reserves, 40% of it. So, they only account for 30% of the world GDP and 42% of the population, but 40% of the world's gold and hard currency reserves. That says a lot. Then that's damaging for what the value of the dollar is going to be, especially when they um, consolidate more power amongst themselves. Another country that's had serious talks with China, it's been in the news lately, like mainstream news, is Saudi Arabia. They're talking about it, and if you're not familiar what the petrodollar is, that's basically w a big reason why our dollar has any value in the world to begin with. Um, for the longest time, the only way that you could buy oil, at least from, um, OPEC, was with the United States dollar, but more and more it's becoming, um, available to buy in other currencies. Um, Also, Saudi Arabia is getting a little bit more tired of being bossed around by us, which, I mean, to be honest with you, along the conspiracy theory stuff that I read, a big reason why Saudi Arabia is even there is because of, the deep state in the United States has propped them up and brought them along because they always played ball. So, that's what happens though. You some people get too big for their britches and then they don't want to be part of your little game no more and they want to go do what they want to do. So, you reap what you sow. BRICS countries have a combined share of 50% of the world's coal consumption. But I mean, a lot of it's third world still. The BRICS countries combined have a combined share of 70% of the world's production of soybeans. That's a lot. They have a combined share of 80% of the world's production of sugar. There you go with all the um, African and South American nations. They have a combined share of 90% of the world's production of chromium, have a combined share of 95% of the world's production of platinum, and a combined share of 99% of the world's production of rhodium, which I'm not sure what rhodium's used for, but it's, a rare earth mineral, I would believe. So, and then not to mention if more of these African countries and South American countries go with it, with BRICS, they control a lot of the um, cobalt and other minerals that are used for the batteries in Tesla's cars. The United States wants to go all electric cars, renewable energy sources. Most all that stuff comes from these rare earth minerals that we don't really have a whole lot of, and they have plenty of. And that goes along with the lines of what the WEF is trying to do with their sustainable energy goals and stuff like that. There's like 13, 17 of them. Whitney Webb is supposed to be coming out with um, articles that break down each one. So I'm really looking forward to being able to read about that. Let's find out who else wants to join BRICS. All right, already done 38 minutes. Bonus. Hopefully, it hasn't been too boring for you. Not that, at this rate, not too many people are watching, so it doesn't really matter. I just get to ramble on whatever I want. I'm going to work on getting more organization to it, but I just felt that if I don't start doing this, I was never going to do it. And, it's nowhere near the level of production that I want to have into it. But, if you don't like it, don't watch, which you're probably not anyway. So you know, this is my therapy at the moment, which I did talk to my therapist about it today, or actually my doctor who had a therapist there too. Like I said, I'm a little crazy. Um, all right. How come I didn't put that on there? Well, let's see what the requirements of joining BRICS are. Oh, right here it was. I missed it. All right. Numerous other countries have expressed interest in joining. Oh, there you go. All right. So numerous other countries have expressed interest in joining the bloc, including Argentina, Iran. Both signaled their interest. Um, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt have also begun the process of making the same move. However, it's not clear if there are any specific requirements for joining the group. And then when I had asked it, what are the requirements? There's no formal application process to join, but any hopeful government must receive unanimous backing from all existing BRICs members, who we said is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So there you have it. And that those are a lot of the big reasons why we have such a hard on for Russia and China. Not to mention, we make them into the boogeyman so that way we can prop up our military industrial complex to build more weapons. I mean, ultimately that's what NATO is for. If you don't understand some of the concepts of NATO, um, they're the countries that are part of it have to basically buy certain types of military hardware, and most of it's made here. A lot of it's made in, like, say, Germany, United Kingdom, a few other countries, but they have a consistent standard. You have to spend X amount of dollars every year, upgrade your military, invest so much into it, which, Donald Trump, when he was in office, was upset about how much other countries didn't live up to their end of it and spend as much as they were supposed to. But, he also didn't get us out of it. So, you know. So, yeah, you have that. I don't know. I feel like I got a pretty good conversation across tonight. It's 40 some minutes. I don't want to feel like I'm rambling on too much. I don't really have much else planned. So, we kind of hit the topics that you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff over again. I'd like to bring more in depth stuff about it, but as I was explaining earlier, I'm trying to bring information to people that are just waking up, not woke. We're not into being woke. That was co-opted from, um, you know, the African American culture. That was a word that they used, and it got co-opted. But we are awake here. That's one thing about it. Eyes wide open, eyes wide shut, however you want to be about it. But we are paying attention to what's going on here. I'm trying to put together a community of people that can bounce ideas off each other, a community where we can see the commonality that we have between us all. Even if you have different political ideations from somebody else, there's plenty of other things that we can agree on. And ultimately at the end of the day, the small things we can fight amongst ourselves about later, but at at this point in time, they're trying to take everything that is of value away from you. So those small things that don't mean near as much, we can worry about those later. But at this time, they're trying to take away all your freedoms. They're trying to control how you can spend your money, where you can spend it at, if you even have any. They want you to live off from everything that they give you. They just want full control of everything, and it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for us. So it's about us to come together as a community, talk about things, bounce ideas off each other. Like I said, find common ground, start um, being proactive. Um, and so I was listening to the fundraiser that T Lab was doing, and they were talking about, it's probably more than 50% of people that are awake at this moment. The government's really scared right now. That's why they're trying anything and everything to try to um, put stuff out there to to keep us under control because they know so many people are onto their little game, you know, and it's not a little game, it's a big game and it's important, but there's more and more people every day. There's more and more people doing the same type of stuff. I wish I would have done it earlier. Maybe, you know, I could have had a bigger platform and reach more people by now, but I'm starting now. So that's all I can do. That's all I can say about it, except for the fact that I want it to grow. I'm going to do what I can to not just do it through a screen. There's a lot to be said about in the physical world. And that's where we'll have even more power at is when people get together. There's communities that are really good out there. Freedomcells.org is one. I haven't spent as much time on it as that I would like. It's one thing I want to try to get into more. I know there's some people that I believe that have groups here in Michigan already, so it's worth checking out. But yeah, so that's where it's at. So I'm gonna wrap it up for night, and every night until it happens, free Assange, freedom to the press. There we have it, the American nightmare.